The night was soft, draped in a silken veil of twilight, and the air carried a hush that seemed older than time itself. Beyond the edge of the small village, where lanterns flickered and human voices softened into whispers, began the kingdom of the whispering pines. Their tall spires reached toward the stars, swaying gently as if they breathed the rhythm of the earth. For generations, the villagers told stories about the forest, tales of dreams born beneath its canopy, of voices that murmured secrets in the ears of those brave enough to wander inside. Some claimed the pines could lull you into a sleep so deep and tender that you awoke not in your own bed, but in another world altogether, a realm woven from dreams. On this particular evening, a solitary traveler named Alara found herself standing at the forest's edge, her lantern casting a circle of golden light on the moss at her feet. She was weary, not only from the day's long walk, but from months of carrying a heart heavy with unanswered questions. Her life in the village had been ordinary, safe, predictable, yet hollow in ways she could no longer ignore. And so, when whispers about the forest reached her ears, she felt them stir something restless inside her, like a chord struck in the depth of her being. The pines swayed as if beckoning, their branches whispering words she could almost understand. Some said it was dangerous to follow those murmurs, for the forest could swallow you whole, leaving only a memory behind. Yet others believed that within its depths lay solace, a dream world where the broken could be mended and the lost could be found. Standing there, Alara felt the weight of choice press upon her chest. Should she return to the familiarity of her small cottage, where the fire would crackle and the night would pass uneventfully, or should she surrender to the magnetic pull of the pines and step into the unknown, risking herself for a promise of something greater? She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the cool night air wash over her, and in that silence, she heard it, a faint hum, like a lullaby carried by the wind. It threaded through the trees, soft but insistent, a sound that reached into her bones. Her breath caught, and before she could second guess, her foot moved forward, then another, until the forest swallowed her whole. The lantern's glow danced across rough trunks, casting shadows that stretched like figures watching her journey. The pine needles underfoot whispered as she walked, their rustle almost forming words she could not quite decipher. It was as though the forest itself was alive, aware of her presence, guiding her deeper. For a moment, fear clutched at her chest, but then the air shifted. Warmth bloomed around her, mingling with the scent of resonant earth, wrapping her in a strange comfort. She felt as though unseen hands held her gently, encouraging her onward. The further she walked, the more her thoughts began to dissolve, unraveling like threads of an old garment. Worries about her village, her solitude, her unspoken regrets. They seemed to fade, replaced by a serene emptiness. Time itself felt blurred. Was it minutes, hours, or perhaps years she had been walking? The forest offered no answer, only the constant whisper of its song. Finally, she came upon a small clearing where moonlight spilled like liquid silver, bathing the ground in an ethereal glow. The pines bent slightly inward, as though bowing, forming a natural cathedral. Alara stood in the center, breathless, her heart steady yet strangely light. She realized then that she was not afraid anymore. Whatever awaited her in the forest, dream, danger, or destiny, she had already surrendered to its call. Above her, the stars shimmered brighter, and the whispers grew clearer, almost forming her name. It was only the beginning, yet she knew she had stepped into a place that would change her forever. The clearing glowed like a forgotten shrine beneath the silver wash of the moon. Alara stood still, her breath soft against the silence, her lantern dimming, as if humbled by the natural radiance spilling from the sky. The trees around her rose like guardians, their needles shimmering faintly as though brushed with stardust. She felt as if she had entered a space between worlds, a threshold where the ordinary rules of earth bowed to something older, gentler, and far more mysterious. A hush settled over her, deeper than any silence she had ever known, and for the first time in many months, her heart felt unburdened, like a bird unhooked from a cage. She lowered her lantern and listened. The whispers were clearer here, as though the pines had drawn her into their heart to share a secret. The voices were not frightening, but soothing, like the low murmur of a lullaby sung by countless unseen lips. If she closed her eyes, She could almost distinguish words, fragments of lullabies, promises of peace, and echoes of forgotten dreams. They brushed against her like feathers, light yet filled with meaning. Ilara knelt to touch the forest floor. The moss was thick, glowing faintly under the moon, and when her fingers brushed against it, warmth pulsed upward into her skin. It was impossible, yet undeniable. The earth beneath her hand was alive, aware and welcoming. She pulled her hand back quickly, startled, but no harm came. Instead, the moss seemed to sigh in contentment, as if relieved to have shared its secret pulse with her. She realized then that this forest was unlike anything she had ever known. It was not merely alive, but conscious, holding its own heartbeat, and somehow it had chosen to reveal itself to her. She rose slowly, her eyes drawn to the circle of trees. The branches bent slightly inward, swaying in a rhythm that matched the pulse of the moss. It was a dance, deliberate and ceremonial, as if the forest itself celebrated her arrival. The sound of their movement was like music, a soft harmony of whispers and rustles, so gentle that tears sprang unexpectedly to her eyes. She wiped them away quickly, embarrassed by her own sudden emotion, though no one was there to see. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she noticed something else, a path. It had not been there before, or perhaps she had simply been too enchanted to see it. The moonlight illuminated it faintly, a ribbon of pale glow winding deeper into the forest. Unlike the wild undergrowth around her, this path was clear, smooth, and unmistakably deliberate. It was as though the forest itself had carved it for her, inviting her to continue. Ilara hesitated, her heart quickening. She had already surrendered to the forest call by stepping inside, but this felt different. This was no longer curiosity. It was destiny. To step onto that path meant to follow where it led, with no guarantee of return. And yet, the pull was irresistible. Her feet moved forward before her mind could form protest. As she walked, the air thickened with fragrance. The sweet resin of pine mingled with a faint floral scent she could not place. It reminded her of childhood summers when her mother would braid flowers into her hair, humming songs that seemed endless. The memory washed over her so vividly that she faltered, gripping her lantern tighter. Was the forest showing her these memories, or were they arising naturally within her heart? She did not know, but the line between reality and dream was already beginning to blur. Each step down the glowing path deepened that sensation, as though she were walking out her own life and into another's dreamscape. Eventually, she came upon a pool of water, perfectly round and still, reflecting the sky with flawless clarity. She leaned closer, expecting to see her own face mirrored there. Instead, she gasped softly. The reflection was not her, at least not entirely. The face in the water was familiar, yet different. Her eyes brighter, her skin luminous, her expression serene in a way she had never seen before. This was not the Ilara who carried weariness and solitude in her bones. This was an Ilara untouched by sorrow, a version of herself that felt both distant and deeply intimate. She reached out to touch the water, and the reflection smiled, lifting its hand in perfect unison. But when her fingers brushed the surface, the image rippled and dissolved into silver light, spreading outward until the whole pool shimmered like liquid moon. The whispers grew louder around her, insistent yet tender, urging her forward. She stepped back from the pool, her heart pounding. There was no turning back now. Whatever awaited her deeper in the forest, it was tied to the version of herself she had glimpsed in the water, whole, luminous, and waiting to be found. She straightened, clutching her lantern though its glow seemed pale compared to the silver brilliance around her, and took the next step onto the winding path. Above her, the stars seemed to shift, aligning in patterns she did not recognize, as if marking her journey. The forest was alive, the dream was beginning, and Ilara was no longer merely a traveler. She was becoming part of something vast, ancient, and endlessly mysterious. The winding path carried Ilara deeper into the forest, where the trees grew taller, their crowns knitting together into a vaulted canopy that shimmered faintly as if dusted with celestial frost. The lantern in her hand felt almost unnecessary now. The pines themselves seemed to glow, their needles glistening with a strange inner radiance. She had the uncanny sensation of being watched, not with malice, but with the profound attentiveness of an audience observing a sacred performance. Every step she took pressed softly into the moss, and the ground yielded like velvet, leaving no trace behind. Illyra's breath slowed, her heartbeat aligning with the steady rhythm of the forest, as if her body was being tuned to its music. Then she noticed them, figures at the edge of her vision, tall and still, carved from shadow and moonlight. They lingered just beyond the reach of her lantern's glow, never approaching yet never disappearing either. At first, she thought they were illusions, tricks of the light filtering through branches, but the longer she walked, the clearer they became. These were not ordinary shadows, but guardians of the pines, ancient presences cloaked in bark and mist. Their forms resembled humans, yet elongated, their faces featureless except for glowing eyes like fragments of starlight. They stood silent, yet she could feel their awareness pressing gently against her thoughts. It was not invasive, but it was intimate, as though they were sifting through the very fabric of her soul, measuring her worth, weighing her intent. Fear prickled at the edges of her courage, but she kept walking. The path did not falter, nor did the watchers block her way. If anything, they seemed to guide her, their stillness forming a corridor of reverence, a silent procession leading her deeper into the dreamscape. A memory stirred in her chest. Half-remembered tales whispered in the village tavern. Of the watchers, spirits said to guard the threshold between waking and dream. Some claimed they were souls of those who had surrendered fully to the forest, shedding their human forms to become part of its eternal vigil. Others said they were embodiments of the trees themselves, risen from root and bark to ensure the forest's sanctity remained unbroken. Illyra stepped slowed as she approached the grove, where the path widened into a circle bathed in moonlight. Here, the watchers gathered more densely, encircling the space in perfect symmetry. She felt her breath catch in her throat. Though they said nothing, their presence spoke volumes. You are seen. You are measured. You are chosen or rejected. The whispers in the pines swelled, weaving around her like a hymn. Her heart pounded as she stepped into the circle, bracing herself for judgment she could not comprehend. To her surprise, the silence broke not with words but with movement. The watchers raised their arms in unison, and the canopy above shifted, parting to reveal a sky unlike any she had ever known. Constellations she did not recognize burned bright, forming shapes that pulsed with rhythm. One cluster of stars flared, spilling its light downward until it struck the ground at her feet. The moss glowed with a light touch, blooming with tiny silver flowers that opened instantly, their fragrance intoxicating. She gasped softly, bending to touch them, and as she did, the watchers lowered their arms. A wave of calm surged through her, approval. She had passed some tests she had not known she was taking. Illyra straightened, her eyes damp with relief. She realized now that the forest was not merely welcoming her blindly. It was evaluating her, testing the truth of her heart. Whatever awaited her deeper in this dreamland, it would not be granted without trust earned and courage proven. She inhaled deeply, steadying herself. The watchers slowly faded back into shadow, merging once more with the trees, leaving her alone in the glowing grove. The path ahead shimmered faintly, beckoning. She adjusted the lantern in her grip, though its flame was little more than a comfort now, and whispered aloud for the first time since entering, "I will follow." The forest answered with a sigh of wind through the branches, carrying her words deeper into its endless heart. The path narrowed, winding between trunks so close together they seemed to embrace, before opening into a gentle slope that led downward. Illyra soon heard it. The murmur of water, low and melodic, threading through the hush of the trees. The sound grew clearer with every step, until she emerged onto the bank of a river unlike any she had seen before. It shimmered with liquid light, its surface a shifting tapestry of silver, blue, and pale gold. The current moved lazily, yet it carried within it fragments of something strange, shapes that drifted just below the surface, luminous and fleeting. At first, she thought they were fish, but when she looked closer, her breath caught in awe. They were not creatures of flesh, but visions, scraps of dreams, glowing like fireflies, floating downstream as though carried from one sleeper's mind to another. She knelt at the water's edge, mesmerized. A child's laughter echoed faintly from one glowing fragment as it drifted past. Another shimmered into the shape of a soaring bird before dissolving back into liquid silver. A third revealed a door standing in endless sky, its handle glowing with promise, before vanishing into ripples. The river was alive with humanity's forgotten dreams, those lost upon waking, yet preserved here, flowing eternally through the heart of the whispering pines. Tears pricked at Alara's eyes as she watched. How many times had she woken from a beautiful dream, its warmth fading like mist, only to feel its lost ache in her chest. Here, she saw those fragments given permanence, treasured by the forest itself. The whispers swelled again, carrying her name with them. She leaned closer, and the water responded. A vision rose to the surface, glowing brighter than the rest. She gasped. It was her, not her reflection, but a memory she had almost forgotten. A younger Alara, no more than 12, sitting beneath a summer sky with a book clutched in her lap. She remembered that day, the joy of discovering her first story, the way her heart had soared with the realization that whole worlds could live inside words. Yet in the memory, she also saw what she had not noticed then, the loneliness in her small frame, the yearning for someone to share those worlds with. The vision drifted downstream, and she reached out, her fingers grazing the water. Warmth surged through her, bittersweet but healing. She realized then that the river did not simply preserve dreams. It revealed the truths hidden within them. To step closer to the dreamland was to confront pieces of herself she had forgotten, neglected, or buried. Rising to her feet, she followed the bank, the current guiding her deeper. Along the way, she saw countless more fragments. A soldier's dream of home, a mother's lullaby, a wanderer's wish for belonging. Each fragment tugged at her heart, weaving her own story into the fabric of humanity. Eventually, the river forked into two streams, each glowing differently. One shimmered with golden light, warm and inviting. The other pulsed with deep blue, calm yet tinged with sorrow. Alara froze at the divide, unsure which path to take. The whispers hushed, as if waiting for her decision. Her hand trembled on the lantern, though its light seemed faint compared to the brilliance of the streams. She closed her eyes, listening not to the forest this time, but to her own heart. And there, beneath her doubts, she found a quiet voice urging her onward. She opened her eyes, stepped toward the golden current, and without hesitation, crossed the shallow river. The water embraced her ankles like silk, leaving no chill, only a sense of renewal. On the other side, the path gleamed brighter, promising wonders yet unseen. Beyond the golden stream, the path lifted gently upward until Alara reached a ridge where the trees parted to reveal a wooden bridge suspended over a deep ravine. The bridge looked ancient, its planks weathered but sturdy, bound together by ropes that glistened faintly as though woven from moonlight rather than fiber. From the depth below rose a sound unlike anything she had heard before, a chorus of voices, layered and endless, murmuring in countless tones. They were not threatening but haunting, as if the canyon itself held the echoes of every soul who had ever walked this way. The bridge swayed gently in the breeze, creaking like an old lullaby, waiting for a step. Alara hesitated at the threshold, her lantern trembling in her grip. The voices below grew clearer, and she realized they were not meaningless noise. They were words, fragments of sentences, calls of love, cries of despair, confessions whispered into the dark. She strained to listen and nearly stumbled as she recognized her own voice among them, a whisper of her past self, speaking words she had uttered long ago. I am alone, and I do not know why. Her knees weakened at the sound, shame and sorrow welling up, yet the forest gave her no escape. The only way forward was across the bridge. She placed her foot on the first plank, and immediately the voices surged, rising like a tide. Each step drew more from her past, echoing beneath her. The laughter she had forced when her heart ached, the promises she had broken, the silences she had kept when words might have healed. The bridge became a mirror of sound, reflecting not her face, but her history. Tears burned in her eyes, but she pressed on, gripping the ropes, her body trembling with the weight of memory. Halfway across, she nearly faltered as the voices grew so loud she thought they would consume her. Then something shifted. Among the cacophony, new voices rose, gentle, steady, comforting. They spoke not of sorrow but of resilience. The courage she had shown when no one noticed, the kindness she had given even when her heart was weary, the dreams she had carried when the world told her to let them go. These voices balanced the pain, reminding her that she was not only her failures, but also her quiet triumphs. Strength surged within her, steadying her trembling hands. She lifted her chin, took a deep breath, and walked the final stretch of the bridge with firm steps. When she reached the other side, the voices softened, fading into silence, the bridge still behind her, no longer swaying. She looked back once, expecting to see shadows, but instead the bridge glowed faintly, as though her passage had left a mark of light upon it. She understood then. The echoing bridge was not meant to break her. It was meant to show her balance, to remind her that both pain and beauty lived in her, and both were part of her journey. Smiling through her tears, she turned and followed the path deeper into the forest, her heart lighter than before. The path opened suddenly into a meadow so vast it seemed to stretch into eternity. A carpet of tall grass shimmered like spun silver, and countless wildflowers glowed softly, their colors shifting with each breath of wind. In the center of the meadow lay figures, dozens, perhaps hundreds, resting peacefully upon the grass. Their bodies rose and fell with the rhythm of sleep, their faces serene as if wrapped in the sweetest of dreams. Ilara froze, her lantern casting a small circle light around her, though it felt unnecessary in this glowing expanse. She stepped closer to one of the sleepers, her curiosity tinged with unease. The figure was a woman, her hair flowing like golden silk, her expression tranquil, as though she dreamed of joy beyond measure. Ilara reached out, hesitated, then withdrew her hand. The woman did not stir. Around her, other dreamers lay in the same deep slumber, a child clutching a wooden toy, an old man smiling faintly, a youth whose lips moved as if whispering secrets to the wind. None of them seemed trapped. They looked content, embraced by the meadow's enchantment. The whispers rose again, softer here, lulling and sweet. Ilara realized that this was a meadow of endless sleep, a place spoken of only in fragmented village legends. Some said those who lay here never awoke, surrendering their lives for eternal dreams. Others believed the meadow was not a trap, but a sanctuary, a place where weary souls rested until they found the strength to rise again. Ilara's heart ached with temptation. How easy it would be to lie among the sleepers, to let her burdens dissolve into dream, to escape the weight of her waking life. She sank to her knees in the grass, exhaustion washing over her. The whispers wove around her mind, coaxing her eyelids to grow heavy. She thought of her loneliness, of the nights she had stared at the ceiling of her small cottage, wishing for something more. Here, that longing could end. Here, she could close her eyes and never feel the ache again. Slowly, she lowered herself onto grass, her lantern slipping from her hand, its glow dimming. Her eyes fluttered shut, and for a moment, she felt herself drifting into the meadow's embrace. But then, she heard another whisper, different from the rest. It was sharper, firmer, like a thread of clarity woven into the haze. It spoke her name, not with temptation but with purpose. Ilara, rise. Her eyes snapped open, and the meadow's glow seemed to shift. She saw the dreamers again, but now she noticed something new. Though they looked peaceful, a faint shadow lingered over them, as though they were incomplete, suspended between life and dream, neither fully here nor fully gone. A pang of sorrow struck her. If she surrendered now, she would not be free. She would simply be paused, her story unfinished. With trembling hands, she pushed herself upright, forcing her body to resist the meadow's lull. She retrieved her lantern, its flame flickering weakly, and clutched it to her chest. The whispers grew softer, resigned, as if the meadow itself accepted her choice. She rose fully to her feet, legs unsteady but unbroken, looking at the dreamers one last time. She whispered prayer for them, that they might one day wake and finish their stories too. Then she turned and walked onward, leaving the meadow of endless sleep behind. Ilara's footsteps carried her from the meadow into a narrow corridor of trees, their trunks so tall and straight they seemed like pillars of an ancient temple. The path beneath her feet glowed faintly, leading her onward until the trees suddenly parted, revealing a vast hall open to the night sky. It was not a building of stone, but an immense clearing where the ground shimmered like polished crystal, reflecting the heavens above. The stars hung impossibly close here, as though the sky had bent downward to meet the earth, and their light fell in cascading beams that resembled columns of liquid silver. She stepped forward, her lantern paling against the brilliance. Above her, constellations shifted into unfamiliar shapes. Great birds with wings outstretched, rivers that flowed endlessly, figures of dancers frozen in eternal grace. Each star whispered faintly, its voice threading into the symphony of the forest's murmurs. Ilara felt as though she had entered cathedral, where the cosmos itself served as choir and roof. Her heart swelled with awe, and for a moment she forgot her weariness, her solitude, everything but the immensity of what surrounded her. As she walked across the crystalline floor, beams of starlight shifted, forming patterns at her feet. They arranged themselves into symbols she could not read, glowing sigils that pulsed with meaning. She realized with a shiver that the stars were speaking to her, not in words, but in language older than memory, written in light and rhythm. Her breath caught as one symbol blazed brighter than the rest, forming the outline of a key. At once, the whispers rose into clarity. Every dream has a gate, and every gate has a key. You are closer now. Her hands trembled as she reached down, and the key of starlight lifted from the floor, solidifying into her palm. It was cool to the touch, yet it throbbed with energy as though alive. She clutched it to her chest, sensing its weight far beyond its form. This was no ordinary key. It was a fragment of destiny, the tool that would unlock the final threshold of the Dreamland. But where was the gate open? She glanced around the hall, searching, and that was when she saw them. The Watchers had returned. They stood at the edges of the clearing, their starlit eyes fixed on her. For the first time, one of them moved forward, its body flowing like shadow and light woven together. It stopped a few paces away, raising an arm to the sky. Above them, the constellations shifted again, aligning into a vast archway of stars. The figure pointed toward it, and Ilara understood. The gate awaited her. She bowed her head in silent gratitude, then turned toward the arch. As she approached, the stars within the arch shimmered like water. The whispers rose into a chorus, guiding her onward. She felt both small and infinite, a single soul standing before the doorway of dreams. Her heart hammered with both fear and wonder. She knew, deep within, that once she crossed, she would never be the same. She tightened her grip on the starlight key and stepped closer, ready to face what lay beyond. The archway pulsed with shifting constellations, each star within it flickering as though alive, waiting for her touch. Ilara stood before it, the starlight key warm in her palm, her breath shallow with anticipation. The whispers surrounded her, no longer indistinct but layered, voices overlapping in countless tones. Old and young, male and female, human and not. They spoke of journeys taken, choices made, gates crossed. Some were triumphant, others sorrowful, but all converged into one truth. This was a threshold that defined the Dreamland. With trembling fingers, she lifted the key. The arch responded instantly, its stars flaring brighter, threads of silver weaving into intricate locks of light. She pressed the key forward, and it melted seamlessly into the arch, vanishing in a burst of radiance. The doorway shimmered open, revealing not darkness, but a curtain of mist glowing faintly with hues of violet and gold. It rippled like water, beckoning her inward. Ilara's lantern flickered, then extinguished, as if acknowledging that its service was complete. She held it loosely at her side, her heart beating faster than ever. The Watchers stood silently behind her, their starlit eyes fixed on her every movement. She glanced back once, searching their faceless forms for guidance. They did not move, but she felt their message pressing into her mind. Beyond this gate lies truth. Not all who enter return, but all who enter are changed. A shiver ran through her. She had crossed rivers of dreams, faced echoes of her past, resisted the meadow's lull. Yet this, she sensed, was the moment everything had been leading to. She inhaled deeply, squared her shoulders, and stepped through the curtain of mist. The sensation was unlike anything she had ever known. For an instant, it felt as though she were falling weightless, through endless space. Whispers filled her ears, louder and louder until they became a roar sound. Colors flared behind her closed eyelids. Brilliant, impossible shades that burned and soothed at once. Her body dissolved into light, then reformed, her heart pounding in rhythms not her own. When the sensation finally ebbed, she opened her eyes and gasped. She stood in a vast plain bathed in twilight. The sky above was neither day nor night, but an endless canvas painted with shifting hues of rose, indigo, and silver. Strange shapes drifted across it. Floating islands, glimmering orbs, streams of water flowing upward instead of down. The air was alive with music, though no instruments played, a melody woven directly from the fabric of existence. Ilara's knees weakened at the sheer beauty. This was no longer a forest. This was the dreamland itself, vast and unbound by the rules of the waking world. Her breath caught as she saw a movement in the distance. Figures walking gracefully across the plain, their forms luminous, shifting between human and otherworldly. Some glowed like fireflies, others shimmered like glass, and others still were clothed in flowing robes of starlight. They moved with purpose, yet their faces were serene, as though carrying peace beyond comprehension. Ilara realized with awe that these were dream souls, those who had crossed the gate and surrendered fully to the dreamland's embrace. One of them turned toward her, their face radiant with light. They raised a hand in greeting, and though no words passed their lips, she felt a voice within her heart. Welcome, traveler. You have crossed into the place where dreams are born, where shadows are healed, where truth reveals itself. Walk with courage, for your journey is not yet complete. Ilara's chest tightened with emotion. She bowed her head, humbled, and whispered into the twilight, I will walk. The dreamland stirred in response, its music swelling, its skies shimmering brighter. She stepped forward, her heart ready for whatever truths awaited her in this boundless realm of dream and shadow. The forest beyond the bridge was unlike anything she had yet seen. The pines towered higher, their needles glittering as though dusted with diamonds. The air shimmered faintly, charged with unseen energy, and every breath she drew filled her lungs with light. At the center stood a single tree, larger than all the rest, its trunk wide enough to hold a house, its branches stretching into infinity. This was the heart of the forest, the source of every whisper. Ilara approached slowly, all pressing her shoulders low. The whispers here were not many voices, but one, a single, unified song so vast it seemed to come from the stars themselves. She fell to her knees at the base of the tree, lantern slipping from her grasp. The flame extinguished, but she no longer needed it. The tree itself radiated light. She pressed her hand against its bark, and once again warmth surged into her, but stronger now, overwhelming. Images flooded her mind, not fragments this time, but the entire tapestry. She saw humanity's first dreamers gazing into night skies, children inventing stories by firelight, poets and wanderers carrying songs across continents. She saw the sorrow of wars, the silence of grief, the laughter of reunions, the endless resilience of hearts that dared to dream again. All of it flowed into her, unstoppable, infinite. She wept openly now, unable to contain the torrent of beauty and pain. The great tree's voice thundered within her. Dreams are the breath of the soul. Without them, the world withers. You are chosen to remember when others forget, to carry when others cannot. Her chest burned with the weight of the gift, yet she did not resist. She bowed her head against the bark, whispering, I will. At once, the forest shivered, as though relieved. The light of the great tree intensified, surging upward into its branches, spilling into the sky like a river of stars. The entire forest joined in harmony, every tree swaying, every needle trembling in the chorus of whispers. It was no longer a lullaby, but a symphony, grand and eternal. Ilara felt herself dissolving into it, her body trembling as though it might vanish. And yet she was not afraid. She understood now. She was not losing herself, but becoming more, woven into the forest, into the song, into the endless dream. When the light finally dimmed, she lay exhausted at the foot of the tree, but her heart pulsed differently now. She could feel every whisper, every shadow, every dream coursing through her veins. She rose slowly, no longer Ilara the wanderer, But Alara, the Dreamkeeper, her lantern lay cold and empty, but she no longer needed it. She carried the light within. When Alara opened her eyes, dawn spilled across the horizon. The forest of whispering pines stood as it always had, serene and quiet. Yet she felt the difference in every breath. The path behind her lay dim, ordinary once more, but within her, the song remained alive. She walked back slowly, each step light, steady, filled with calm. Birds stirred in the branches above, their morning calls spreading seamlessly into the lingering whispers. For the first time in her life, she did not feel alone. She carried the voices of countless souls, and their presence filled her heart like an eternal embrace. She reached the forest edge just as the sun broke free of the hills. Villagers passed nearby, unaware of the vast dreamscape hidden within the trees. Alara paused, glancing back one last time. The pines stood tall, their needles glinting faintly, as though winking at her. She smiled, whispering softly, "I'll remember." And she knew she always would. She stepped forward into the waking world, but the boundary no longer mattered. For within her, the lullaby of shadows, the bridge of starlight, and the heart of the great pine still sang. Alara had not merely walked into Dreamland. She had become part of it. Wherever she went, others would feel it. In the calm of her voice, in the warmth of her presence, in the unshakable serenity of her gaze, the forest had given her its gift, and through her, its whispers would never fade. The dream lived on, not only in the woods, but in every step she took. And as the sun rose higher, gilding the world in gold, Alara felt no fear of the day. For now she knew, the night and the dream, the shadow and the light, all belonged to one endless song, and she was its keeper.